do you want to have Governor sit down and I'll come up here? I'm going to have that same haircut one day too, so. All right, good morning. My name is Joe Doherty. I'm from the Utah Department of Public Safety. I think we're outside, so I can take this off. And I represent the state of Utah's COVID-19 response. Welcome to our weekly briefing. This is going to be a two-part briefing where we have part COVID and part economic information for you today. So I want to introduce our speakers. We'll start with our Governor Spencer Cox. He'll be followed by Dr. Angela Dunn. And Dr. Angela Dunn is our state epidemiologist. She'll be followed by Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson. And then we'll have some other speakers that Lieutenant Governor will introduce for you. We have a number of subject matter experts who are available for interviews to take questions as well, and we can connect you with them at a later point. So thank you, Governor Cox.
Thank you, Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be with you today here in Weber County. We appreciate all of you that made the trip up. You're welcome. We wanted, it's 2 weeks in a row we were able to get you out of the valley and move around a little bit. And it's a gorgeous day. We're headed to a beautiful weekend, and we wanted to get outside to enjoy it. We appreciate our friends here at Northrop Grumman who have graciously agreed to host us today and talk about, again, some important things that are coming up. I want to talk about some issues surrounding the coronavirus, first of all. Some good news on our transmission index. Beaver and Emery County now have moved from high to moderate. And if you're keeping track at home, that means that for the first time we have no counties in high transmission. All 29 of our counties are in moderate, and we have 6 that are in low, 23 in moderate and 6 in low. This means that everything that we are doing here in Utah, everything that you are doing here in Utah is absolutely working. And we want you to continue to do those things so that we can drive those case counts down as vaccinations increase. Your masks, your vaccines, your care for one another, your endurance, your patience as the weather is warming up, all of these signs are so good for us right now. We know that the last year has brought incredible stress to all of you, and the uncertainty was certainly evident in our economy, our health, and even in our relationships. But from the beginning, we have tried to share with you the best information that we have possible on this pandemic, and we will continue to do that. We know right now that almost every metric is going down. Dr. Dunn will talk more about some of those metrics. We had another slight plateau, and then the last couple days we've seen those declines coming again, which again is very positive news. I want to talk about the vaccine numbers right now. We have delivered over 1.4 million doses so far. This is a daily increase of 46,000 doses since yesterday, which is the most doses we've administered in a single day so far. So yesterday was our best day, and we hope to have many more best days ahead. A week ago today, our total doses administered was just over 1.2 million. Those are first and second doses, and that's a weekly increase of 177,223 doses, which again is a weekly record. Today, we will report that over 500,000 people have now been fully vaccinated, and over 925,000 have received at least one dose. When we look at those who are most vulnerable, which is how we staggered our rollout, Utahns who are age 70 and older, we're at 84% of those that have received at least one dose of the vaccine. And if we go to 65 and older, that number is 82% total that have received at least one dose of the vaccine, which again is great news, because not only is it good news for infections, and we learned we had some updates from Pfizer over this past week that show that so what we had hoped all along, and that is that people who have been vaccinated are not good carriers of the virus. They don't transmit the virus, which is what we wanted. But not only that, again, but the most vulnerable, those over the age of 65 now, our hospitalizations and our mortality rates will continue to go down since we got them vaccinated first. On the vaccine equity piece, our local health departments are working to help vaccinate all of our at-risk populations, and I want to give a shout out to Davis County and others who are working with our incarcerated populations who have been particularly hard hit, and getting vaccines rolled out there. The Lieutenant Governor will give us just a brief update on some other projects that she and others have been working on. Our colleges and universities are encouraging students to get vaccinated before they head home for the summer. We know that unfortunately it was our college population that was a driver of the last surge, and getting them vaccinated now that they are eligible before they head home is a positive thing, and so we encourage them to do that if you can. And next week, I'm very excited to announce that we will receive over 106,000 prime vaccine doses. That will be our highest single week distribution yet for initial doses. That will be driven in large part by a huge increase in the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a single dose vaccine. We will get more than 40,000 of those Johnson & Johnson vaccines this coming week, which is great news. Again, we've known from the very beginning that vaccines are the quickest way to end this pandemic, and while we still don't have enough for everyone, we encourage people to continue to wear masks until everyone gets an opportunity to get that vaccine. Now, I want to touch on one issue that has been coming up. We hear from parents often who are very anxious to not have their kids wear masks in school, and I assure you that we hear you and that we understand that frustration. However, as you know, under the bill that was passed in the Senate, the pandemic endgame bill, masks are still required in schools moving forward, and there's a reason for that. And first of all, we're trying to get as many people vaccinated as possible. Obviously, kids aren't at as high a risk for hospitalization or death as are older people. That being said, they do transmit the virus still. We are not to a place where everyone has had an opportunity to get vaccinated, but most importantly, our focus has always been about getting kids back in school. We want in-person learning more than anything else because we know how important that is. And I'm so proud of our state being one of the first states to get kids back in school this past fall so that they would have an opportunity to learn in person and not have the setbacks that we're seeing in so many other states. Now, masks are one of the ways that we have been able to make that happen, to get kids back in school. If we were to remove masks, there are a whole bunch of vulnerable kids and vulnerable parents who would have to take their kids out of school. And we don't want that to happen. So this is, again, about keeping kids in school. We don't want to have any of these mandates one day longer than are absolutely necessary, but it is still necessary right now so that we can keep kids in school, we can keep the transmission of the virus low. I will also point out that it is our masking policy and the studies that were done around that have allowed the rest of the nation to open up. The federal government actually used the studies that were done here in the state of Utah around masking to allow for higher concentration of students, to remove that 6-foot barrier that had been put in place. And so this is successful right now. We're so close to the end. Let's not make the mistake of pulling back too early. Let's make sure that we keep kids in school, we keep kids safe, and that we continue to get people vaccinated. We also had some good news from Pfizer this week on an initial study around children ages 12 to 15, and we'll continue to work with them and the FDA as soon as those vaccines are approved for younger people. Now, before I turn the time over to Dr. Dunn, I just want to preface something that Lieutenant Governor is going to be talking about. We know, we've talked a lot about the health impacts of this pandemic, but we know for sure that there are economic impacts as well, and that these economic impacts have not been distributed proportionally across the state or the country, and that women have been particularly hard hit. As March, we were celebrating Women's History Month. I know it's technically April 1st, which is the worst day of the year, except for Major League Baseball. There are no April Fool's jokes here today. Let me just make that very clear, that everything we are telling you is legitimate, and it's important that we notice that. But as we just finished celebrating Women's History Month, we have a lot of work to do in Utah always, but especially coming out of this pandemic as women have been disproportionately affected. And I just want to thank two of the most important women in my life and in our state, Dr. Dunn and Lieutenant Governor Henderson, who have stepped up. Dr. Dunn throughout this pandemic from the very beginning. Lieutenant Governor Henderson, from the time we were inaugurated on January 4th, has been deeply involved in our vaccine rollout, has been deeply involved in our equity efforts, and as all of you know, in our 500-day roadmap, one of the pillars of our focus has been around equity with our communities of color, but also with women, getting more women involved economically, getting more women involved politically, making sure that we have opportunities to succeed for everyone. And so those are a couple things we're going to be talking about today, and I can't wait for their presentations and for the announcement that the Lieutenant Governor has. So with that, I'll turn the podium over to Dr. Dunn.
All right, good morning, and thank you, Governor. COVID update. We continue to see a decrease in our cases and our percent positivity. We are now at a rolling 7-day average of new cases at 411. This was 419 last week. And our percent positivity is continuing to drop. Person over person today is 6.9%. Last week it was at 7.6%. And test over test is now at 3.4%. Last week it was at 3.8%. And you know, we are only 3.5 months into our vaccination campaign, and we have already fully vaccinated over 500,000 Utahns. This is truly amazing, and in large part due to Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Henderson's efforts from the beginning of their inauguration. In the course of vaccinating so many people, we've been able to learn a lot about these vaccines. We know that they're safe. We know that there's been very few reports of serious side effects, and there's been no reports of deaths due to vaccination. And we know that they are effective. Our cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are declining, in large part due to the increase of vaccinations. The clinical trials have found that the COVID-19 vaccines prevent up to 95% of cases. No vaccine is 100% effective, and some people who have been vaccinated have still been infected with COVID-19. So when someone's fully vaccinated, that means that it's been 2 weeks since their final dose of the vaccination series. If they test positive after these 2 weeks, it's called a breakthrough case. In Utah, we've identified 96 breakthrough cases. This is out of 686,000 people. That's only 0.02% of people who have been fully vaccinated have gone on to develop COVID-19. This is truly amazing and speaks to the great effectiveness of the vaccines we have. With eligibility now open to all Utahns 16 and above, I encourage you to get the vaccination as soon as you can. This will keep us moving in the right direction and help us end the pandemic. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dunn and Governor Cox. This week, our efforts have continued to make sure that everyone in Utah who wants a vaccine can get a vaccine. And this is very important for us, very important to us, that our vaccine administration rates actually reflect our population. And we've talked about this a lot. Yesterday, I was in Duchesne, where the Utah National Guard was running their very first, hopefully of many, pop-up clinics. It was a drive-up clinic. It was at Duchesne High School. It was no scheduling, no appointments needed. It was open to everyone in the community who was 18 years old or older. And people saw the operation on the street. They were driving by, they saw the signs, and they would just pull in to the parking lot and get vaccinated. And they were able to vaccinate hundreds of people this way yesterday. It was a really incredible operation. Today, they're doing the same thing in Tabiona. There's also a spot in Davis County that I want to highlight. This coming Sunday, on Easter Sunday, after church services, there will be a place where families can go and get vaccinated together here in Davis County. And our mobile clinics are continuing to go to long-term care facilities and other congregate settings where people can't just leave and go get vaccinated. These efforts are going to continue throughout the state as we make sure that all Utahns, rural and urban, regardless of what barriers they may have, will have access to the opportunity to get a vaccine. Now, this pandemic has affected all of us, but it has disproportionately affected some more than others, as the governor pointed out. Today, I'm really excited to announce that we are launching a Returnship initiative to provide adults who have been out of the workforce for an extended period of time, such as full-time parents, military personnel or their spouses, caregivers, professionals who may have left their careers to advance their education, or retirees, the opportunity to get current experience, skills, training, and mentoring that they need in order to get back into the workplace. Unlike internships, and I know a thing or two about internships, unlike internships, which are designed primarily for young people at the beginning of their careers, the goal of a returnship program is to help experienced adults re-enter the workforce without starting at the bottom of the career ladder. Diversity and life experience are valuable to us and should be relevant to pay and opportunity in the workplace. The Returnship program will help us reach those who haven't been participating in the job market for one reason or another. One of the biggest concerns that we hear from employers in the state of Utah is that there are not enough qualified workers to fill their open positions. The purpose of this Returnship initiative is not only to help people who want to get back to work, but also to help provide an innovative way for employers to find solutions to their workforce needs. From 2019 to 2020, Utah women lost twice as many jobs as Utah men. Out of the roughly 12,000 jobs that were lost, 4,000 of them belonged to men and 8,000 of them belonged to women. Our low unemployment numbers show that we have gained back most of the ground that we've lost, but we've also seen that occupations held predominantly by women are recovering at a slower rate than occupations held mostly by men. Our Returnship initiative is meant to help people get back to work, and there are two tracks that we are proposing to meet those various needs. The first track will provide returnship opportunities in state government and with Utah businesses. This path is for those who don't necessarily need additional education. Today, the governor will sign an executive order that directs state agencies to identify meaningful ways to provide returnship opportunities and look for ways to remove barriers to workplace reentry that currently exist. Utah, I am proud to announce, is the very first state to implement this sort of returnship program in its state. We're also inviting businesses to step up, like our friends here at Northrop Grumman are doing, and offer their own returnship programs. The second track that we're providing does provide short-term training opportunities at Utah colleges and universities. We're announcing here today $15 million for the Learn and Work in Utah grant program. This program is designed for unemployed, underemployed, and vulnerable workers to learn new skills through affordable and flexible short-term programs designed to connect them with a rewarding career. In some of these programs, the tuition costs will be completely covered by the grants the state has made available. And this is really important, applications for individuals who are returning to the workforce will be prioritized. One of the pillars of our administration, as laid out in our One Utah roadmap that the governor referenced a few minutes ago, is a commitment to equality and opportunity. We hope that this new returnship initiative will help even more Utahns have the opportunities that they want and that they deserve. If you want to learn more about these returnships, you can go to my website, ltgovernor.utah.gov. That's the Lieutenant Governor website. And there is a page there for this. We will now hear from Beth Pitts-Madonna and Greg Manuel from Northrop Grumman, who will tell us about their returnship programs, and then we'll turn the time back over to the governor.
Thank you, Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Henderson, for being here today and for all you are doing to build upon Utah's incredible successes. I have the honor to be the Vice President of Human Resources for over 25,000 individuals as part of Northrop Grumman's Space Systems sector. Northrop Grumman's partnership with Utah has deep historical roots. We have been a proud member of this community since its heritage company, Hercules, was founded in Magda in 1912. Our team has developed many innovations and capabilities for our national security in both commercial flight, space and aircraft, and the exploration of space for well over a century. Today, through strategic growth and thanks to the support of the communities and the state of Utah, presence here includes more than 6,700 people and employees in 14 different locations across the state. Simply stated, we are the largest aerospace and defense company in Utah. In Utah, we have 800 current job openings. And despite 2020 being a very challenging year for all of us, we gained over 1,500 employees in the state alone and are continuing to expand. Over the next decade, we will continue to bring thousands of new, highly skilled jobs to the various Northrop Grumman sites across Utah. And this can only be achieved in a vibrant and adaptable environment. As Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Henderson's One Utah Roadmap emphasizes, a skilled and relevant workforce served as a core building block for economic success. With the state of Utah's announcement of its returnship, I am honored to announce today that Northrop Grumman is expanding our iReturn program to Utah. Our iReturn program enables experienced professionals to translate skills gained while taking a break of 2 or more years from their career and really translating that into a career at Northrop Grumman. The iReturn program provides a 12-week returnship to provide full-time career in one of several fields of Northrop Grumman. And we do this through training, professional development, and networking opportunities. Northrop Grumman offers this partnership in partnership with the Society of Women Engineers and iRelaunch. The importance of building a diverse and inclusive workforce and capturing the ideas and the power of every single person is critical to our collective success. And an inclusive environment where diversity flourishes, creativity grows, and innovation expands enables us all to create some of the most technically sophisticated products in the world, truly making the impossible possible. Utah is a great place for Northrop Grumman, and we are thankful for the support of the national, state, and local representatives and their staff as we continue to expand our footprint here. I would next like to introduce, and it's really my privilege to introduce Greg Manuel, who's our Vice President and General Manager of the Strategic Deterrence Division here at Northrop Grumman. And you see these beautiful buildings here behind us that really represent the core of it. In leading a team working on critical national security programs for the U.S. government, Greg will speak to the value these initiatives bring to a key industry in Utah and to our country's security. Thank you. Greg?
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Senator Stevens. Welcome to the Northrop Grumman Rollout Innovation Center. It was just short, a year and a half ago, we were here in August of 2019, just over there in that parking lot for our very exciting groundbreaking of this fabulous opportunity to be here in the great city of Roy, Utah, but also to partner with the state of Utah, the communities, and all the other businesses associated with aerospace and defense, and specifically this mission, the Strategic Deterrent Mission. We made a promise to the state We made a promise to the state to bring in employees. We made a promise to the state to invest in infrastructure. And the promise that we made is a promise that we kept. And we continue to work with the state and the communities and the associated cities around Davis County and Weber County to ensure that everybody understands that we are here to stay for a very long time. This strategic deterrent mission is one that will be here for decades. It's one that we have been participating on in the design, the build, the sustainment, the modernization for the last 60 years. For over 6 decades, the strategic deterrent mission has kept this United States defended, its citizens supported, and free every single day. It doesn't go to sleep. It works every single day, 24 hours a day, every week, every month, every year. The mission that we're doing here at this campus is one of now modernizing the current strategic deterrent mission, which is called the Minuteman III weapon system. Through that modernization process, and as referenced by Beth, we will absolutely need critical skills for the next several years. Those critical skills are in engineering, software development. We need people to build things. We need accountants. We need business managers. We need every potential skilled employee that one can imagine to support a weapon system program such as the Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent Program. Behind me is not only the GBSD headquarters, the Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent headquarters, but also is a state-of-the-art flagship engineering and test facility, the largest test facility this side of the Mississippi, all integrated and underneath one single roof, right here at the Roy Innovation Center in Roy, Utah. Our nation is facing a rapidly changing threat associated with our adversaries. This program, the GBSD program, is absolutely necessary to continue to navigate our way through how we deal with our adversary threats. It's through the innovation of companies like Northrop Grumman and all of our partners associated with GBSD and the investment and the resources that we need to drive the innovation and the creativity associated with the solutions that we're providing our customer, the United States Air Force, in developing a weapon system like the Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent System. We are grateful for everything Utah does to foster this type of relationship. We are especially grateful for programs like the Returnship program that the Lieutenant Governor mentioned. And we're also grateful for all of the other activities that the state legislators, the governor's team, GOED, who has supported all of our initiatives associated with looking for and identifying and recruiting or identifying different programs for recruiting specialty skills into our campus here in Roy, Utah. Workforce initiatives like the one announced today enable companies like ourselves to build a diverse and talented workforce. We are extremely proud of the focus on diversity. Not just diversity of demographics, but also diversity of bringing women back into the workforce. We're extremely proud of what we're doing in changing the overall makeup of Weber and Davis County. We're extremely proud of bringing in diverse folks from all other states across the United States to work here in the great state of Utah. As Utah communities and industry continue to grow at a rapid pace, these type of partnerships and initiatives are more important to allow us to fill the pipeline that we're going to need, not just today, but for the next several years to come. As you can see and imagine, this campus is being built to support a deterrent mission for decades to come. And as such, we will need not just these short-term opportunities to look for ways to recruit more and more resources into this part of the state and from outer state. But also, we will need programs that look at how do we sustain that in an enduring way. We plan to be here, and you can see through the investment, we plan to be here for decades to come. And as a result of that, we will be continuing to hire for decades to come. And we are very proud with working with the state to look for initiatives to support our long-term needs. On behalf of Northrop Grumman, we look forward to growing our workforce here. We look forward to looking at different types of initiatives. We're certainly looking forward and very excited about supporting the Lieutenant Governor's I-Return program, or Returnship program. And we're very much looking forward to continue to work with the local and state leaders to build out the infrastructure that we need to design, build, and deliver a weapon system or a deterrent system, a deterrent system like GBSD for years to come. Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do a quick signing of the official executive order around returnships, and then we'll open it up for some questions. So, Lieutenant Governor, if you'd join me at the table. All right, we've got some time for a few questions, if you have any.
Governor,
Please, ma'am.
a new executive order or your office gave guidance to state agencies to keep the mask mandate in place for state facilities and state employees. Why did you decide to do that?
Sure. So for those of you that didn't hear, the question is, yesterday we sent out a memo to our employees statewide, letting them know that we're going to continue to require masks amongst employees until the end of May. So this is something we've talked about for a long time. We do have the bill that the legislature passed that makes the mandatory mask mandate for the state go away on April 10th. However, employers still have the ability, and I would say an obligation. We have an obligation to keep our employees safe and to do everything we can to keep people safe who are coming to those areas. And so we can't, obviously we want people to get vaccinated. If you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you're safe to be able to go out and do those types of things. We want to make sure our employees all have an opportunity to get that vaccine before we take the masks away in those workplaces, Ben. And so we anticipate that by the end of May, everyone will have the opportunity that wants one to be fully vaccinated, and at that point, then we won't require masks for our employees.
You signed the endgame bill. Is it kind of one of those fine for me, but not for you?
Oh, not at all. In fact, we've encouraged employers, and they're doing that. Many employers have already announced that they will continue to do that and to continue to require masks in their places of business. So again, there's a difference between government mandating it and then giving people the freedom and the ability to choose that if they do. And so as an employer, I felt like that was important for our workforce, and so that's why we're requiring it. Please.
With women nationally in Utah disproportionately affected economically, even before the pandemic, Utah women ranked very low in terms of wage gap, representation, and divorce. What is the administration doing to make sure that women don't just get back to the status quo in Utah, but that we keep advancing?
Yeah, sorry, I caught most of that. The sound of freedom was getting louder as you were finishing up there. So we'll let that F-35 fly over. And so the question is, yes, and I'll have the Lieutenant Governor come up and address this as well. That Utah has historically lagged behind the rest of the country when it comes to women's involvement in the workplace and in politics and a whole bunch of other things. So we have several initiatives that we're working on, and this is one of those, and that's why we're so excited. And I have to say, I hope everyone recognizes how cool this is, that we do internships all the time for young people. But I was talking to my own wife, who took 20 years out of the workforce to raise our family, and she said, we had been talking about potentially, depending on how the campaign turned out, about her getting back into the workforce, and she just said it's almost impossible because I have this huge gap. Every employer who would look at that would say, well, I noticed you haven't been working for 20 years and you lose every time, right? They're always going to take somebody who doesn't have that gap every time. And now she's the first lady, and she is an employee of the state of Utah. She gets paid $1 a year, and so not the most lucrative of jobs, but she said, not everyone has that opportunity. And so what the Lieutenant Governor and her team, and as we've been working on this, what we've done today is we get an opportunity to end that gap for especially women. And this is available to everyone, but we're really talking about women here, right? Women who have been out of the workforce for a long time. Now they get to go into an employer and say, I just spent 3 months, 6 months, whatever, working for the governor of the state of Utah. And that looks pretty cool. And then they're going to win some of those the next time, right? Because they don't have a gap. They have been working. They have amazing skills. Let me assure you that just because you're not in the workforce doesn't mean you don't have the skills that are necessary to be successful in the workforce. In fact, I would argue you've maybe have some even better skills than the people you're competing against. But people who are looking at resumes, they don't see that. They don't see those other skills. And so we get a chance to get them back, to fill their resume, and the state of Utah benefits from that as well. And I will say these are paid. We're not asking them to come work for government for free. We're going to pay them in these returnships, and we get the benefit of their experience and making the state a better place. And then they get to go find jobs at other incredible places. But we hope that not just the state of Utah will do that. That's why we're so pleased with the announcement from Beth and our friends at Northrop Grumman that they're going to be doing this here in Utah as well. And that's just going to help us and help women across the state. Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you. As the governor mentioned, skills that are picked up as a person, as a full-time parent, or has left the workforce for various reasons, don't always easily translate well onto resumes. And that's what we're trying to figure out here with this initiative. That's the gap we're trying to fill. As far as our state agencies are concerned, the governor has directed a study to be made of what the wages are in the state and where those gaps might occur. I was visiting with with GOED a couple of weeks ago, and they had done this internally, and to their surprise, found some things, some areas that they can improve upon. And so we're going to have all of the state agencies take that internal look and see what's happening right now and what they can do to make it better, and not just in the area of pay, but in the area of opportunity. Leadership roles, we need to make sure that we are allowing opportunity for diversity in leadership roles, and making sure that those pipelines are being built where people are getting the experiences and the skills that they need to step into those roles when they become available. So we are focusing on that as an administration, focusing very heavily on making sure that we are not being short-sighted in not just in wages, but in opportunity as well.
Utah also has one of the highest rates of minimum part-time. Is that something you thought about with this internship program to have high-quality trained?
Sorry, you were talking about part-time workers in Utah, and
Utah has a high rate of women working part-time. Is that whether that was something that was thought about with the returnship to have high-quality, good-paying part-time jobs to help?
yeah, so what the executive order that the governor just signed directs our state agencies to do is to look at ways that they can implement a returnship program within their departments and divisions and offices. Now, they might look different from place to place, from division or office to office, because there are different needs and different work environments. But one of the things that's really important to us that we've been talking about and talking to our state agencies about is, you know, we talk about the wage gap. Well, it's because some people are choosing to take lower paying jobs. Some people are choosing this, and it's true. Out of necessity, there are times where people have to choose things that are maybe part-time or lower paid, because we have expected always for people to come into our workplace and fit in to a prescribed workplace. And what we want to do is ask our state agencies, and I think that COVID has provided this wonderful opportunity, ask our state agencies to look at their workplace and see how they can make that better fit the worker instead of the worker always having to fit the workplace. Flexibility, working from home, just taking a look at things in a little different way is something that we want to make sure we do. Some of those barriers to opportunity, barriers to entry that do exist, and they don't exist because people are trying to make it difficult for other people. They're just sometimes ingrained in the culture or the way we do things and the way we've always done them and thought about them, and we're just trying to rethink things a little bit.
Jason.
Lieutenant Governor, obviously you're here in Northrop Grumman as part of one of the partners you guys are dealing with. Are there other industries that you've targeted to become partners in this returnship program?
Well, I don't have any specific industry announcements today, but I do know that there are other industries and other businesses who are looking to do something similar, as well as working with institutions of higher education through the three different programs that they have, the Learn and Work and in the Utah Works and the apprenticeship programs, to make sure that their workforce needs are going to be met through proper and adequate training.
I have a question for Dr. Dunn, if that's all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Utah was able to open up vaccine eligibility to everyone 16 and older ahead of many other states. Does that say anything about vaccine hesitancy in the state?
No, actually, we are doing fantastic. We have over 80% of our 70 plus have been vaccinated, close to 70% of 65 plus, and we're making headway in the younger populations as well. We do expect that as we move forward in our vaccination campaign, of course, the people who haven't been vaccinated are going to be the ones with more hesitancy, and we have specific plans to address their concerns, such as getting the vaccine out to their primary care provider so they can have that one-on-one conversation. But right now, we aren't seeing that decreased demand. So our mass vaccination sites are still filling up really quickly, which is exciting news in terms of reaching that herd immunity and being able to end the pandemic sooner.
I guess I'm just wondering then why we were able to, with the same proportionate amount of doses of other states, why we were able to open it up sooner.
Because we've had really effective and efficient mass vaccination sites, initially spearheaded by our local health departments, that are able to handle the volume of individuals coming in a really efficient way. And so that allows us to create more demand and allow more people to come in because of that efficiency.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dr. Dunn, you mentioned those breakthrough cases. You say, has the vaccine been effective in preventing severe illness in those cases?
Yeah, so the question is, has the vaccine been effective at preventing severe illness in our breakthrough cases? And the answer is yes. Specifically, we have a great example in a long-term care facility where we had a cluster of over 15 breakthrough cases, but not one individual had symptoms. And this is a population that prior to the vaccination, they would have a really high mortality rate. And this time, because of the vaccine, none even had symptoms. So yes, it is preventing severe symptoms, which is fantastic.
Any hospitalizations among that?
Sure. So of around the 96 that have been, or 97 breakthrough cases, we have had around 5 that have been hospitalized. They have all been older adults with underlying medical conditions. So it's unclear whether the hospitalization was due to COVID or their other conditions. Okay.
Dr. Dunn, I just wanted to ask, on this issue with breakthrough illnesses, do you expect more of these to emerge, and how concerned are you that they, as viruses mutate, then
Sure. So the question is, are we expecting more breakthrough cases, and what do the variants have to do with the breakthrough cases? So we've been able to successfully sequence 2 of the breakthrough cases, and they both have been the California variant, or B429. So there is some concern, of course, with the variants emerging that there will be decreased effectiveness among the vaccines, but they're still very effective vaccines, which is fantastic. And so we're not concerned that the vaccines will decrease effectiveness so much that we'd have to change our public health strategy. So moving forward, we're continuing to sequence all of the breakthrough cases that we can and figure out what impact the variants do have on that. But science shows us that the vaccines are still effective against the variants. Okay, thank you.
Please, we've got time for maybe one more question.
When we're talking about some of these wage gaps with the Returnship program, a lot of these wage gaps are more significant among communities of color. So what kinds of efforts are you putting in to reach out to those communities of color to lift their economic standing?
Yeah, so the question is around the wage gaps in communities of color. We've talked a lot about women today, and we'll certainly have more announcements in the future around those communities. But the question is, what are we doing? And so we've been working very closely backing up just a little bit. The Lieutenant Governor touched on this, but the pandemic has been a curse for sure, but a blessing in some ways, in that it what was kind of an academic exercise before has become very, very real in seeing the disparities that are happening in these different communities. And we have brought together our different commissions that work on these issues. We have the Multicultural Commission as well as the Martin Luther King Commission, and those two have been working very closely with us. We also elevated Nubia Pena, who is now a senior advisor on these issues, to us, Lieutenant Governor and I, and we're really excited about what's happening in those areas. So we've been working with the private sector. One of the first areas we saw a real disparity was with the PPP loans that came from the federal government. And the first wave of PPP loans, if you go back and look at the demographics of that, now, of course, in the middle of it, you'll remember how crazy it was. The banks were trying to get it out, and there were all these issues. And then we got it all done, and it shut off, and we went back and looked at the numbers. And I'm not proud of it, and this was true everywhere, but it was almost all white-owned businesses that were able to take advantage of those. And we realized that was a problem. And so when the next phase came around, we worked directly with lenders to make sure that that wasn't the case. We got materials out into those communities, community partners who were working, and we had a significant increase in those who were able to take advantage of the loans. And we believe that that's the model going forward. Now, again, we have a whole bunch of federal money that's coming into the state. We're still waiting for direction from the Secretary of the Treasury on what that's going to look like. But with every one of these vaccine rollouts, now testing, all of those things, we've changed our approach. And that is that we are focusing specifically on those communities to make sure that there is an equitable distribution of those assets, whether it's vaccines or federal funding, getting that into education as well. A real focus. One of the ways we change that is education-based. So much of employment is based on your education history and that opportunity. And so one of our campaign promises was that we would focus on equity in education, so that young people get these opportunities as they're coming out as well. We've been working with the legislature. We think we had a very successful legislative session when it comes to working on those equity issues. We still have a long ways to go, but they are committed partners. I have to give the Speaker and the President a shout out, because they've agreed with us that this is a priority for the legislature as well. And so we have a whole bunch of things that we're working on, and really there's a lot of just ideas that are coming forward right now. We've asked our partners in those communities to bring their ideas to the table, and we'll let you know what rises to the top over the next few months. Thank you. Okay, with that, again, we want to thank all of you for making the trip up here to Roy. It's a beautiful day, and it's going to be an incredible weekend. Please stay safe out there. Get your vaccines. If you're hesitant at all, please talk to someone who's gotten theirs. I finally got mine last week. I feel great. Life's good. We can feel those antibodies. I guess I can't technically feel them building. That's not true, but I know they are, and we're looking forward to getting things back to normal very soon. So thanks, everyone.
One quick note too, if anyone has questions on the Learn and Work program. Jess Gilmore from the Utah System of Higher Education has her hands up there if you have any questions on that, or any more details on the Returnship program. Ben Hart from the Governor's Office of Economic Development is here. So thank you, everyone, and thank you to our interpreters. Thank you to our hosts as well.